All right, here we go. Screencast. Mrs. White. How to use your type tool, and I'm also going to go over how to do a gradient really quickly. Okay, so type tool. Hold down on the type tool. Looks like a T. You've got lots of choices under here. Okay, I'm just going to show you the first one for now. If you want to know type on a path, I have another tutorial already up there on my website on how to do that. All right, so for now, I am just going to do the type tool basic. Drag. Okay, I clicked and dragged. Now watch what happens. If I click in that drag spot, I can type and it's going to bounce me back as soon as I get to the edge of it. So this is really good for if you're doing text on like a magazine or if you're adding copy into something like a story. Not so good for posters, so I wouldn't suggest using it. See what happens if I use my black selection arrow key. All I can do is move around that text box. Nothing much else can happen there, except unless I want to go in and do specific things to this text with the character settings, but I'm not going to do that right now. So I'm just going to push delete. What I suggest you do is use the type tool and just click. Okay, do not drag, just click. And you can see there's actually a blinking cursor there. I'm going to make it bigger. I'm actually going to make it into 150. And I'm going to pick Impact because I know that's a nice big font that you can see. Okay, see my cursor there? And I'm going to say by, I'm going to do it all in caps, by your yearbooks now. Okay, and I'm going to select that whole thing. I can go with my black arrow key now, and I can grab the corner and look what happens. Bam. Okay, so I can stretch that text around. Now, if I wanted to have a smaller space in between each one, I could have done each word separately, or you can now go back in your character settings here and you can adjust your leading, which is the spacing in between the lines here. I can adjust my kerning, or as this calls it, tracking on Illustrator, so you can see between the letters there, tighter or looser. Okay, so you can adjust all those things, and you can come back in and drag it again. See? Okay, so there I have that. Now, that's text. Next thing I want to do is I want to pull a gradient in the background, okay? So I'm looking over here at my layers. Right now I have one layer and it's just my text. So before I pull that gradient, I want to create a new layer. So I'm going to go to my little piece of paper with the corner turned up there, and I'm going to create a new layer, okay? So I'm going to just double click on this one and I'm going to say text. And I'm going to double click on this one and I'm going to name it background. You can also change here the color that it's highlighted in. So, you know, if you don't want it to be red, you can pick any color you want. All right, and then say OK, and see there, it turned it to green. So now I have two layers. I'm going to pull my background layer behind the text layer, so it's underneath the text layer. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to use my rectangle tool. I'm going to change my color from black right away, even though this is not going to be my final color, but I just don't want it to be black because then I can't see it against the text. And I'm going to drag a box like that. Okay, so now I have a nice background and it's behind my text, but I want this background to be a gradient. Okay, so I got it highlighted. I can see over here, yes, it's highlighted. I'm going to target it, so it's that targeted. I'm going to lock my text actually so I don't ruin it while I'm working on my gradient. And I'm going to go up here to window and I'm going to say gradient. So I open up my gradient window. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this black and white gradient. It's going to turn it to black and white. But I can now click on these boxes here, double click on it, and I'm going to change it from grayscale to RGB. And now I'm going to pick colors. So I'm going to say, I'm going to pick like an orange color. And then over here, I'm going to double click on this box and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to change that to RGB and I'm going to change that to a blue color. Okay. Now I'm actually going to make this more orangey. okay? And now I want there to be more orange than blue, but I also want my gradient to be vertical, meaning going from orange at the top to blue at the bottom. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change my angle to the negative 90%, so my orange is on top and blue is on bottom. And I actually want there to be more orange than blue, so I'm going to take my gradient slider here, which is kind of like my midpoint, and I'm going to bring that over so I have way more orange than blue. Now, if I wanted to add as many colors as I wanted to down here, I can. All you have to do is click, and it gives you another box, and you can double click on that and make that whatever color you want. And now I have 3 colors. Now, if I don't like that, I don't like the way that looks, I want to get rid of that, I'm going to take that pink one box, click and drag, pull it down, and it goes away. All right, so I'm just going to leave it just as is, and I'm happy with that. And you guys can play with it as you want. You can go back to your text here, highlight it, target it. Oops, it's locked, that's why. Target it, and you can do effects to it, okay? So you can do all these stylizing things, outer glow, inner glow, feather it, distort it, whatever you want. Play around with things as they are, but there's that, all right? Good luck.